Hey, so I wanted to make a video because I wanted to share with you the story of my life, the story of how Jesus radically changed my life. Heather shared her story and made a video about it, and it really challenged me to do likewise. It's really awesome to be married to her because she really challenges me to love people better, and I love you, and I want you to know this. So I'm going to use the same illustration that she used to tell her story. It's called the three thrones illustration. And I'm going to draw three thrones. And the thrones represent different stages of my life. And I mean that very specifically when I say life. I don't just mean different stages of my growth or different stages of my biological, all my organs working together to get oxygen to my brain. I mean the reason behind my existence, or the purpose behind everything I do, the driving force behind the words that I think, the words that I say, and the thoughts that I think. That's what I mean by my life. And I'm going to draw circles around each one to represent the influences, or the just the things that surrounded my life that that were not necessarily the reason why I did what I do, or my purpose, but they were definitely in my life and influenced my decisions, stuff like that. So it's like a timeline. It's from when I was born till today. So we'll say this is 0 to about 8 years old. This one is from 8 to about 17 years old. This next one is, the last one is 17 till today. So up until I was about 8 years old, I sat on the throne of my life. Ben sat on the throne. And everything I did for myself. So I'm just going to draw these little circles and these arrows to represent that everything I did, I was just kind of doing it in the moment, and it was whatever my selfish desires were feeling at that time, and there was no real unity behind the decisions I made. And I did not particularly want Jesus in my life. I remember my older brother and my older sister wanting Jesus in their life and openly saying that, and I remember even as a little kid, in that 0 to 8 time frame, that I did not want that. And I think a lot of it had to do with not wanting to do what everybody else was doing at the time, which that's still like a character trait of mine, and it's kept me out of trouble sometimes, but I think in this instance it kept me from knowing Jesus. But then I learned about this place called hell, and hell sounded terrible. I know you've heard about hell. I know you've probably heard it in a way in which it's used as like a scare tactic. And I will admit, when I was a kid, I was very scared of hell. I was scared of going to hell. And so I remember praying for essentially fire insurance because of the fear that I had. And I remember putting my finger in one of those vehicle cigarette lighters, and remembering how painful that was. And so I had a concept of getting burned, and I had a concept of like how miserable that would be. So I felt a lot better including Jesus into my realm of influences. I wanted him there. But the reality of my life from ages 8 to 17, everything I did continued to look the same. I continued to just live for myself, and continued to just kind of make decisions not based off of Jesus, but based off of whatever Ben wanted at the time. And Ben still sat on the throne, and that is that's something that throughout the years as a teenager, Jesus challenged me, and he challenged my position up on the throne, and those things that he challenged me, and I knew that that's what was going on. I wanted those things. I wanted to hold on to them. So I held on to that position up there. And the reason why I held on is because of my reluctance to let Jesus sit on the throne, to recognize Jesus as king, the king that he is. Jesus told a story one time about these two men who were building their houses, and one man built his house on the rock, the other man built his house on the sand. And Jesus says that the man who built his house on the rock, he dug deep and he laid the foundation for his home. The other guy just, plopped his house on the sand. And I was building my house on sand. And I know this because Jesus tells us what differentiates the two men. He says that one man heard Jesus' words and did what Jesus told him to do. The other man heard Jesus' words and then didn't do it. And that's exactly what my life reflected. I had heard Jesus my whole life. I had gone to church. I had heard about Jesus my whole life. I even accepted all the facts that I heard about Jesus. I was okay with Jesus's coming down to earth and dying on a cross for my sins. That sounded great to me. That was great news. But the process of digging deep and laying my foundation on Jesus was not that appealing to me. It sounded like hard work. I had things that I felt were more important than making Jesus king of my life. I was really active in church growing up, even becoming a teenager, and went to a youth group, and still made conscious efforts to view pornography. I stole things when people weren't looking, a lot of things, and I honestly hated a lot of people, most people. In my heart, I did not love people, and that's what Jesus tells us to do. I didn't. I didn't like people who were lazy, and I didn't like people that I thought were obnoxious. And because of this thought in my head that I had a handle on things, that I could, do all the things that I thought good church kids do, but also hold on to these things that I wanted. I thought that I was good, until my house that I had built started to crumble, and the decisions that I made had very serious consequences. God used those circumstances and my decisions to bring me to my knees. Everybody's got storms in their life, but somehow I had managed to make a self-inflicted storm. Jesus says that the rains fell when he's telling that parable of the two guys. The rains fell and the winds blew, and the man who built his house on the sand, he lost everything. And I could see that process starting to take place in my life. And when everything starts to crumble at your feet, when you start feeling like you're about to lose everything, you start really searching for solutions. The solution is Jesus. Jesus has to sit on the throne. Anything apart from that will eventually fail. It'll eventually crash into the sea. I almost found that out. And Jesus' disciple, John, said that whoever has the Son has life, and whoever does not have the Son does not have life. I learned that I did not have life. But when I was 17, I came before God, and I told him that there is nothing in my life apart from him that's worth living for. I cannot do it myself. I cannot sit on the throne. So I asked Jesus to sit on the throne of my life, and he showed me that I have to get off the throne, and I have to give him control. I'm not saying that I'm perfect, and since then every decision I've made has been great, and I don't make mistakes. That's not true, and I'm sure you know that that's not true. But Jesus is daily showing me how to submit the authority to Him, to not keep trying to crawl back up on that throne when there's something that I don't understand, or there's something that I want control of, my career, my future, my family, my time, all these things that I hold on to. Jesus tells me that He's got it, and I need to let Him handle it. It's hard. It's a hard process, but I'm learning. And since I have Jesus on the throne, everything I do for my King. Everything I do is centered around Him. Yeah, and it's awesome because when I continually go back to the fact that Jesus is on the throne of my life, it's so much easier to get through these things that are tough, to get through these periods of my life where I see that I can't do it. I can't do it on my own. He has to sit on the throne. And that's my story. I left out a lot of the nitty-gritty details, but hopefully it communicated to you what I'm trying to get across. And I have a question. My question for you is, which throne do you see yourself in? Which throne represents your life? And if it's anyone but this one, it's he that has a son. He that has a son has life, and he that doesn't does not have life. If it's not this throne, then what is keeping you from recognizing Jesus as your King? Are there things in your life that you are unwilling to give God control of? Yeah, that's my question. I don't understand everything, and I don't think I'm ever going to understand everything. But the cool thing is that even though I don't understand things, I can still go back to the fact that He's the King. And if there are things that you don't understand, that you are thinking those are why you're where you're at, then I would challenge you to either talk about it with someone, talk about it with me, or talk about it with God. Talk about it with with the Eternal Father, and see if it's possible for you to trust Him. See if it's possible for you to trust Him with things that you don't understand right now, and maybe you won't understand in this lifetime, but you know that He has your best interest in mind. Just like Levi, our two-week-old at this point, he doesn't understand anything. He's gonna have to trust his dad with things that he at the moment might not think that I have his best interest in mind, but I do love him, and I do have his best interest in mind. And that's a cool thing that God has taught me, and hopefully that He's teaching you that you can trust Him, even when you don't understand, even when you don't necessarily see how He could have your best interest in mind. Yeah, at this point I'm rambling, so I'm gonna end the video and just pray for you and continue to love you, and just let you know that I cannot wait to hear your story someday.